Hi guys, welcome back. We are back yet again with a very interesting topic, and we'll be tackling strategic capabilities, internal competencies, and internal capabilities of an organization. Why two firms in the same market can have widely different results, although they are faced with the same type of macroeconomic conditions. We'll go from the big idea that the resource based view into practical tools you can use in your consulting work, and by the time you will be able to map resources, test whether they are truly strategic, and recommend where to, what should be the next steps that the company must take. Stick around. We'll keep on using a lot of real life Indian examples that you will be able to relate with, and that will help you develop your understanding of the business resources, capabilities, and competencies better. Now, let's understand, why do internal competencies matter so much? What is the meaning of the word competency? It's my skill, it's my ability to deliver something. It's that unique X factor which I possess, which someone outside might not. Now, see, environmental forces matter. The external forces that we analyzed in the previous session, pestle analysis, SWOT analysis, those, of course, they are important. But two firms can face identical macroeconomic and industry structure, yet one company performs better than the other. And that performance gap is explained by internal capabilities. The unique cost of resources and competencies a firm has cultivated, the unique pool of knowledge that they have, something that they have developed internally, which helps them, outperform their competition. So never stop at just pestle analysis or Porter's five forces. Think about what is it that you have internally. It's what is inside that also matters equally or sometimes more as compared to how the external forces are shaping you up. I mean, Flipkart and a small local e-commerce store face the same market, but Flipkart's logistics, funding, and partnerships gave it a different outcome, which is exactly what the entire discussion is going to be. We'll understand the resource-based approach as to how two organizations can have the same set of resources, but how they utilize them, how they employ them is what is going to truly make a difference. The focus shifts to analyzing internal capabilities that clearly have an impact on your growth. A couple of key terms that you should know. What are resources? Firm specific assets, including physical assets, intangible assets, and human assets. So basically, things or human beings or items that you have, resources that people or machines or things or capital or intangibles that you can put to use to achieve a certain output. These are what an organization has at its disposal. You can pay for the resources. Competency is your internally developed capability. Are you able to have, a seamless supply chain? Do you have some amazing customer service? For example, Maruti Suzuki prides itself as a company, which has probably the highest number of service stations when it comes to automobiles. Now, that is something which helps the company score over its competitors. Plus the strategic capabilities, the combination of resources and competencies that enable innovation, efficiency, quality, and customer responsiveness. Basically, how do you leverage the skill sets that you have along with the resources at your disposal to deliver more at a lower cost and probably with a better utilization? Okay. And this is where things start, things have to be looked at from a different perspective. Let's get the resource based view in our thought process first. Now, the resource based view specifically says that sustainable advantage comes from inside, from the resources, which are the tangible items which everybody will have, and capabilities that are valuable and hard to copy. Resources are what you own, and capabilities are what you do well. The strategic job, identify which resources are unique and can be turned into repeatable, scalable capabilities. For example, Tata Group's brand and network is a cross-sector resource that yields competitive advantage across industries. And your internal strengths can sometimes, something that you have developed uniquely within the organization, that is your brainchild and something that has sustained you for a longer duration, that might be difficult for others to imitate. That is your unique selling point, your secret sauce, if I were to call it. And that is what will make it difficult for others to imitate you, and you will be able to scale further as compared to others. See, let's be precise. Resources, input, building, patent, human beings, competencies, processes, and routines, not something created by ChatGPT. Because at this stage, at least I would believe people who rely on AI, especially the ones who are not educated in that field, I mean, they could copy something from the resource, but that's not your capability, right? That's not a competency. How you leverage the speed that AI offers into making your final deliverable better is, where competency will come in. And that's not something you can do by giving a prompt to ChatGPT, right? A resource, like I have a paid subscription to an AI tool, it can become strategic only when embedded with a skill that I have. I mean, anybody can create a PowerPoint presentation using, one of those beautiful tools, but is it making the right impact when it comes to, training the students? You still need a human brain to do that, and an untrained person will not be able to handle. I mean, a training center which has like a resource becomes strategic when it produces superior quality consultants. And ChatGPT consultants, I'm sorry to say, yet don't have the skill. Otherwise, everybody would be a millionaire. So don't let people fool you into believing that that is a competency which can be for which you can be trained and people are charging lakhs and lakhs of rupees. It's not. If you have basic common sense, you can build that competency within. And you don't really have to pay a lump sum amount to get those skills. I mean, come on, you stay in the information age, and that competency, how you align your existing knowledge, you need a strong technical knowledge first. That is the resource. How you align that with AI is what is going to make a huge difference, not the other way around. Okay, now there are threshold versus distinctive capabilities. Threshold is the bare minimum that a person needs to have or an organization needs to have. Responding to students on time is not a huge achievement, it's bare minimum. Are you going above and beyond to make sure that students' academic journey is running properly? That could be a distinctive capability. Getting students enrolled and just sending them a link to join a class is a threshold capability. You don't need brains for that. Even, a fifth grader or a fourth standard student with, WhatsApp will be able to do it. But what distinguishes you is, are you able to guide students to the right path? Now, we look at the 5M resource audit framework. So what are these 5Ms? That's men, money, machinery, material, and market. Okay. Now, I would say a simple, exam friendly approach for you. When we talk about the five resources, the 5M resource audit framework, these 5Ms, they work together to deliver the bigger picture, right? This is something that is internal. Men and women, people who work for you, if you bring in the right set of people to do a job, that will truly enhance the quality of output. But organizations, what they often do is they cheapen out when it comes to resources. When they cheapen out when it comes to hiring the right people. They will spend tons and tons of money on marketing, in making people dance in front of a camera. And when it comes to actually delivering output through trained resources, I think they fail. And that's the reason why, so many companies are not able to deliver on the huge promise that they have. The money part is, of course, the financial backing and the relationships that you have with shareholders and financiers. Machinery is your operational capacity, the physical machine-based capital, your technology, your R&D capability, your quality control, your outsourcing arrangements, the actual part which gets the product ready. And then, of course, you have material, which is supplier relationships, including reliability, flexibility, and exclusivity. I mean, imagine if I am MACD, I would need a very strong framework of suppliers who bring potatoes to my location every single day without compromising on the quality of the potatoes. So it's necessary that I build a reliable supplier network who will make sure that the material is delivered regardless of circumstances. Waste management, I think we discussed the Delhi example where you can see hills which are not hills, but that's just garbage piled on top of each other. So today, waste management has become a critical performance indicator for organizations, because when your woke janta is evaluating these companies for investing them or not, they are looking at these activities also. And then, of course, the markets. How do you position yourself in the market? As in, are you positioning yourself as a cost leader, as a product differentiator? How have you built your brand? What is your brand loyalty, your distribution channels, customer relationships, and competitive positioning? Are you able to derive or deliver more value as compared to your customers? The sixth M, which is like a made, the sixth M, which is not actually a part of the 5M framework, but we call it makeup, organizational structures and their growth limitations. Now, sometimes the organizations are, their growth is restricted maybe because of the mindset, maybe because of the rigidity of the organization structure, or maybe because of, certain internal factors. Maybe, they don't have enough funds to, channelize into development and innovation, and that limits their ability for growth. Now, think about think about each of these aspects. When we are talking about how does an organization create value that nobody else has, I think a big part of that would be understanding how the intangible aspects work. Now, non-physical assets that belong to the firm, such as the MACD name, or that symbol, that golden M, these create significant value and they create a competitive differentiation. If I'm traveling on the highway and I see two shops, at least I know with MACD what quality I'm receiving, and this is the brand that they have built over years, which still pulls the customers towards it, right? Your intangible resources, on the other hand, are, the non-physical assets that don't belong to the firm, like information, reputation, knowledge accumulated through operations. In a lot of occasions, this is something which the team members have developed over time by doing the same activity again and again. Now, in one of my previous jobs, they asked me while I was on my way out that, make a process for this. How do you identify this issue? I said, there is no process. I've been doing this job for so long that I know how it works. I don't want to call it instinct because that simply dilutes the impact. What I want to say is that because I have seen that activity maybe 70 times, I have done it so and so many times over, I know what works because my accumulated experience tells me that this will work and something else won't. So that is, they matter more than anything else today. Today, you can see that reputations and careers are built or broken on LinkedIn. In the sense, your image is probably a very important part of who you are and how you position yourself. It's positioning which is important, how people perceive you, not so much as what you are, but what you are perceived to be. And see, these intangibles are very difficult to value. Think about the Tata brand. I mean, uh, there is a lot of implicit trust because of the way they have done things in the past. So you cannot replicate that. There cannot be a process. Unfortunately, what happens is, all these brand new MBAs or people who watch podcasts and think that, they really know how the world works. They believe that if they hear something about, say, what worked with the Tata group or what worked with someone else or what worked in a particular sector, they believe that the same thing will work elsewhere, not realizing that these aspects have taken the longest time to get developed. And that's not something which can be recreated. Even if you ask I mean, tomorrow, if you ask Ratan Tata to recreate what he did, may his soul rest in peace, he also would not be able to recreate the same thing. Maybe he can create something better, but creating the same thing, it's not baking a cake in an oven, or it's not about, stringing together something to create a chair. It's the your brand value, your image, your reputation mostly comes from intangible factors, which I'm sure the ones who created that also might not be able to tell that, okay, this is what gave me the value. That's very difficult to talk about, and I'm sure everyone will agree. Now, organizational competency measures how effectively firms use available resources. Hamel and Prahlad identified three essential conditions for core competencies. Customer benefits. There has to be genuine customer value. People should be able to appreciate what you are providing them. I was at I was at the ITC hotel some months ago. Now, when I went there and I ate the food, there was something in the food which made me believe that, oh, this dal bukhara that I am eating here, this taste is unimitable. I see genuine value there. I don't mind paying 3,000 rupees for it. For example, assuming that is the price. It's very expensive to pay for dal, but imagine how superior is the quality that I don't mind paying that much money, right? Then there has to be competitive inimitability, doing something that your competitor won't be able to copy. And processes everyone can copy, but the impact cannot be copied because that's something which is, very, very individualistic. And of course, can it be leveraged to a greater level? There are certain home bakeries, they make brilliant cakes and cookies and all of that. But if you ask them to scale it up to a bigger level, they might not be able to do it because their concept, their recipes work in smaller settings only. When you apply it to a, in assembly line production, it might not give you the same quality of output. Now, let's talk about cost efficiency. How do you get that in your business? It comes from economies of scale. What are economies of scale? This is the cost reduction that you achieve because of higher volume of production. Let's imagine that you know earlier you were placing order for raw material for a certain quantity. Now that your your production has increased, that means you're ordering a higher volume. If you're ordering a higher volume, you will be able to negotiate a better rate with the supplier, right? Then supply cost optimization, strategic location advantages and supplier relationships, particularly critical for intermediaries like Tesco, where supply cost management drives competitive advantage. How close is your supplier to your production plant? Because if the supplier is far off, then you will take a longer time for the material to get delivered, so there is time that is wasted, plus the cost is likely to be more, right? And the time duration also. So if you are able to optimize that in some way, then that is when the real advantage starts coming in. Now, talking about supplier leverages or economies of scale, you should also talk about process design excellence. When you keep on doing the same activity over and over again, you are able to weed out the inefficiencies and make the yield also better, the output quantity is better, and naturally, it brings in a certain amount of finesse to the production process, and there is a lot of time saved. Apart from that, of course, the learning curve, experience curve effect that you get, when you have been working over a period of time with the first mover advantage, that naturally is a cause for, cost-based success. Now, let's talk about the VRIN model. Okay, what is VRIN? Value, rarity, inimitability, and non-substitutability. I would want to take Maruti Suzuki's example for, discussing this. Or what is VRIN? V is value. What value do you bring to the table? Your cars are sleek, they are compact, and at the same time, they have a certain cars that Maruti makes. They have a hint of luxury also. They are also operating in the sedan segment. Rarity is certain uncommon capabilities that only you have. For example, like Coca-Cola, it has a taste which nobody else, they will find it very difficult to recreate that. That could be inimitability, difficult to copy. Like like a place like a Subway could have a unique sauce which only they know how to make, so others won't be able to copy that in any way, and the secret recipe is not shared with anyone. Non-substitutability means what you are doing cannot be replaced by anyone else. Today, your competition is not another faculty. Your competition is Netflix, because that is taking away my students' time and diverting them in another direction. So all of these points together, the VRIN model, it basically helps you to understand how unique are you and how long can you sustain in the market, because with these factors present, naturally your chances of success and your longevity, both of them go up. Now, when I talk about value, which is the basic foundation of competitive advantage, strategic capabilities provide value when they enable competitive advantage at acceptable cost levels. In order to please a customer, if you are constantly going out of your way and giving him maybe excessive discounts or giving him some free giveaways, ultimately it will catch up and your costs will far exceed your revenue, right? So if I'm talking about value, First is opportunity exploitation. Does the capability enable the organization to capitalize on opportunities and neutralize external threats effectively? Like right now, today, for example, there are so many people who have entered the ACCA coaching space. Okay, now that means the market is open for everyone. The opportunity is there. Can you utilize that opportunity? Do something that your competitors are not doing and deliver value to the students so that the external threat is not there or it is reduced. Customer value recognition. See, you thinking that you are doing a good job is not enough. It's, you know, it has to be felt by the ultimate consumer. Competitive differentiation, what is it that you are doing differently which your competitors are not delivering right now, and is it financially viable? I mean, pricing an ACCA course today for 3,50,000 rupees might not be financially viable, which is why if you want to grow you will have to set a price that with which you are able to attract the right number of students, plus the revenue that you are making should be able to help you cover your cost and then deliver a profit. Because the way today startups are functioning, because they have venture capitalists and all of them funding the activity, entities are burning 2 crores of cash maybe a month and their revenues are barely there. Cash collection is even lower. So I mean, on the face of it, you could tell the world that there is competitive advantage, that you are doing something different. But at the heart of it, is it financially viable? No, the pack of cards will crumble someday. Rarity, inimitability, and non-substitutability. Now, see, nothing is impossible, but staying ahead of the curve and delivering something which nobody else has the capability to deliver, something which is rare, unique, and at the same time relatable with the customers, is going to be a tough uphill task. And if you are able to crack that in some way, then of course, sky is the limit for you. I mean, I'm constantly reminded of this suitcase company called Mokobara. Now, what this Mokobara does, I'm calling it a suitcase company. Of course, they have a far more classy name for it. But how attractive their bags look, it seems almost impossible to recreate that, and at the prices at which they are providing it. So, till the time they are able to maintain this edge, naturally, they will stay ahead of the competition in more ways than one. Now, organizational knowledge is what? It is the collective experience accumulated through people, through systems, through daily activities, and sharing that knowledge with others. It has gained importance. Why? Because things are getting increasingly complex, and you can convert some of your knowledge into processes, into codified systems. Step one, step two, step three, step four. Start with this chapter, do this next, mix this item later. But when I'm talking about, see, certain activities are inimitable. That is a very personal attribute, context specific. It is difficult to formalize that. I mean, you give the same ingredients and the same process for cooking a particular dish. Now, two people will create completely different tastes for you. See, the point is all of them followed the same process, the same codified system. But there is something known as human skill. This is an intangible aspect of it, and this cannot be reproduced however hard you try. Can you better it? Yes. Can you do worse? Definitely. Can you recreate the same? Most probably not. And in order to make sure that the knowledge that the organization has built over the years, it is kept within the organization for sustainable growth in the future, what companies do is they have their home-based knowledge portals, intranet accessed systems providing organizational knowledge through knowledge banks, wikis, blogs, expertise locators, best practice guides, and discussion groups. So, the idea comes from the fact that people in the organization, when they develop a best practice, that has to be shared with others. Or you can take feedback from the seniors in the organization. Your ERP or the enterprise resource planning systems, they collect all the transactional data and they create patterns and trends out of that data, which can help the other team members in doing the same job in a lesser amount of time. And then of course your decision support systems and expert systems, these are interactive programs. It's, think of it like your in-house inbuilt chat GPT, where you are asking certain questions and that system is giving you answers for that. These could be routine questions, like you upload an Excel file, and there is so much accumulated knowledge in the company which is fed into the expert system or the decision support system. You upload an Excel file, ask the software to do that analysis and give you two or three different conclusions, and it will do that. Now, in in an in a learning organization, what that means is, in an organization that is forever stuck with the idea of growing through learning, creating that adaptive capability is very important. Because see, a learning organization, it constantly keeps on creating, capturing, transferring knowledge. Now the aspect is that there has to be an approach of acceptability and adaptability without having this constant resistance to change, because human beings as a rule will resist. So, and it has to be quickly adopted into your daily working. The more you delay, the more difficult it will become for you in the long run. So I think that plays a very important role in developing your organizational skills and in ensuring that whatever processes, systems are inbuilt, the benefit of that is passed on to the others. Now, there are three pillars of organizational learning: capturing knowledge, of course, then transferring knowledge, and mobilizing knowledge. See, knowledge is strategic. Knowledge is you know it's an ever evolving thing. So whatever learnings you have on a particular project, say for example, we are talking about a restaurant, and one day they realize that if you bake it for 5 extra minutes, then the quality of the muffin is better. This is knowledge. This is a knowledge that they have understood. Now that has to be documented, which is what we mean by capture. Then it has to be relayed to all the chefs who are working on the floor, to tell them that yes, from today onwards, don't bake it for 30 minutes, bake it for 35 minutes. And then utilize it to solve newer problems. That will probably help you increase the sales, because with a better quality muffin, you will be able to attract more customers. So this is something, capture, transfer, mobilize. This will help you to improve the overall quality of output, making the ultimate customer happy, and that will keep on adding to your organizational growth. Okay. Now, when you are trying to evaluate where exactly do you stand, you will need to do a strategic assessment, which will involve analyzing your internal capabilities, availability of resources, skill sets that you have built, and what competitive advantage you have because of that. The external aspect of it would be using tools like Pestel, SWOT, to understand where exactly do you stand with these capabilities in the external environment. I believe the two have to go hand in hand. You cannot only focus on internal capabilities and ignore the external Pestel factors, and the vice versa also won't work. Right. The SWOT analysis framework that we discussed yesterday spoke about strengths, which are your internal capabilities and resources. That is something internal. It doesn't depend on outside factors. And weaknesses, which are again internal, your internal limitations, your deficiencies, which may hinder performance and competitive positioning. I mean, an organization does not have a good procurement manager, or who is probably bad at negotiations, then naturally the procurement cost will go up. This is an internal weakness. Threat is suddenly getting too much competition in the market, and or an external threat could be resource scarcity. Opportunities is again a chance to grab something and help the organization grow. Threats and opportunities are external, strengths and weaknesses are internal. And it's only when you bring these together, integrating internal and external analysis. Successful strategic planning will require you to integrate both. You must match your internal strengths with external opportunities while addressing weaknesses and mitigating threats. So when you have the resource based view, focus on internal capabilities, core competences, understand what you can deliver better. Maybe someone's internal capability is that they have enough financial backing, and how can you use that to get better resources and deliver an even better output for the customer. The market based view is The emphasis is on external market positioning. How are you perceived? What are the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal factors that will shape strategic opportunities? And an integrated approach primarily involves bringing the two together. And I think, and I'm sure you will agree with me when I say that the integrated approach works better. And strategic capabilities combine resources and competencies, your internal items, your internal strengths, which can help you navigate the toughest of storms. Now, understanding the distinction between threshold and distinctive capability is the bare minimum plus the above and beyond element. Applying the VRIN model, okay, which is value and the value proposition is very important. What are you bringing to the table? Do you have any product differentiation? Then is there inimitability in your product? Then is it easily replaceable? So all of these aspects will help you to develop your key strategic capabilities, and that is what will help you overcome competition and deliver better.